Welcome everyone to another Linux live stream here on our channel. It's finally the time, only 3 months late. Certainly a huge improvement from last year's 6 months late. Of 6 months, one more thing, making an amazing release. But this time, as usual, each day one more thing, and at the end 3 months later. What have we done? Of course, on top of supporting 31 freaking CPU architectures, which I'm still epic thread ripping through here, naturally building all of those. So my live streaming is a little bit lagging on a Ryzen 7950X with a load of 75, meaning 75 processes running here, CC1 compilers, make you name it. And now we will run, all right, I did not, that was very clever, I just freshly rebooted. Also, next I should probably investigate some stuff that I wonder, which is why is KVM AMD not auto-loaded? Certainly something to investigate another day. But I also went ahead and mostly rewritten our Stone installation stuff and grub and stuff. So I previously had a questionnaire here on my channel, which boot methods you prefer and we should support. Now down, why do we have drop frames? Don't maybe change the Wi-Fi antenna. Ah wait, this is not the, I'm live streaming over this. 290 drop frames. Oh man, I hope it's not, it's bad. Why is it so bad today? Always when we live stream. We had a questionnaire here. I really hate drop frames, I have to say. Let's just dial down the bandwidth 1 second. Let's see how 2Mbed is doing. So we had a question here, including what you want to use installation, and naturally we support all of them. Now even better, this is also such a setup fail right currently here on this channel. What am I even doing? And so what this means is, previously of course we supported quite some variations. Why not all Linux distributions support this is because you need to have custom code for your initRD, your installer and stuff. And this is not what I want. I wanted freaking that here. And what that means for us is that now, the only thing is if you run no graphics, I still didn't find a way in Spark and so on. This automatically works, but not with x86 grub. So now you can, in T2, what am I even doing in live on this channel? You can encrypt your LVM, and this is, so you can now with the next release, which I'm still compiling through, you can install classic partitions. Obviously, you can directly Lux encrypt a classic partition. This has worked before. You can also LVM2, which not too many people voted here. But what that means is enterprise-grade storage of physical volumes of RAID setup, of modern RAID setups with various logical volumes, meaning not only like one big RAID stuff, but plenty of drives, physical volumes grouped in logical groups and logical volumes with various RAID levels and caching and all the amazing stuff. Also extending those over more storage disks and NVMe modules edit and stuff. And so all of this has worked before in various, even in our tiny little, increasingly successful T2 Linux, right? If you're new to the stuff, obviously we run a Linux distribution for 25 years and increasingly it is enterprise grade and amazing. So I improved all of this, including, I'll show you in a second, that you can, previously you had LVM2, you had to set this up yourself. Now this is integrated in our simple text installer thing here. But what is also amazingly new, I spent extra effort, which might be a Linux distributions first. I obviously can't check all the 1900 something distributions. If it's not in Linux distributions first, it's at least probably the cleanest implementation, because obviously that's what we do here, right? Innovating state-of-the-art Linux, not only the latest and greatest data AI bot nightly updated, performance optimized in all 31 architecture combinations, but also the cleanest at times. What I mean with that is, even if that Luke's encrypted LVM is supported elsewhere. I guess they have a super long wiki entry of how to do that, and it might involve rebuilding the init ID with custom hacks and whatnot, and of course we don't do custom hacks. So how does it look, right? And so how is it usable? That is not even an enterprise user thing. That is everyone, like Edward Snowden and me, playing along at home. And that is, you have your portable Roadbury SSD, or just laptop or workstation, and you naturally want this full disk encrypted, and you want swap and maybe your root file system and other containers and VMs on your LVM. And so historically you might want to set this up with Luke's for each partition. Like a trivial setup would be just Luke's encrypt each partition, right? The drawback is you need to enter your password unless you store your key on your drive, which in my opinion totally evades the whole point of encryption. But so with the new setup, you can now have here, do you want, yes, remove that. So that is just the previous installation, and normally you don't always have to do that. And it took me quite some days to wire in all this, removing all this stuff, right? So you normally would start with a blank disk. Obviously it's a little bit partitioned, obviously just partitions is not a big deal. So, but the truly innovative stuff here is now, you encrypt this first, right? Encrypt partition using Luke's encrypt setup. Are you sure? Yes, encrypt all the stuff for me, please. Test here. And of course you can do this with all other, like not all. You can probably do this with some of the other 1973 news versions, but it just works out of the box, right? Even with our stupid one-man's ethic text installer thing here. And if this triggers you, hey, at least it works over Serial Console, your Unix workstation galore of HP, PA RISC, UltraSpark and property and stuff, or embedded RISC-V and stuff, right? So so now we encrypted this partition. We have here now this root. You can name it whatever. The name doesn't matter. And now we initialize this physical LVM volume and create a new volume group. So add this physical LVM to a new volume group 0, don't care here. So now we have a logical volume group. Did I promise integrate storage? Obviously, right? So, and now this is just one drive, right? Because now whatever, excuse me. So now we want swap, right? Because you might want to suspend this to disk. And, excuse me, still not 100% cured. And the benefit of this is with one password. So the whole LVM setup is full disk encrypted, and you can variable size logical allocate your stuff there, including swap. That means you can encrypt it, suspend to disk, to LVM, to storage. So let's make this 8 gigs because we need to suspend to that. I patched, by the way, LVM2 because I hated the default name. As I said previously, I was considering should the user always supply a name, but now most users don't care. The default name was LVOL0, which I didn't like, so obviously what I don't like I patch. So now our T2 default names are LV, not LVOL, but we rename it anyway to swap. And then create another slice here of 12 gigs for testing for the root volume. Rename that to rename to root. Again, you don't need to rename it, but if you want to have nice names, then you can have nice names. Then create swap here, create a freaking better file system here, and with all the amazing T2 magic implemented, this is by default, should be compressed by default now. And we need to create a EFI partition here, create file system fed for boot EFI. I also went the extra mile, attention to detail. The EFI partitions are now read-only mounted by default. Maybe I change it later to no auto, but at least for now, your low-tech fed partitions are read-only then. And the stone module will obviously remount it read-write if it needs to install grub. So, is that all? So now we have, what do we have? We have a partition, we have two partitions, boot EFI and looks encrypted. On this we have logical volume group with root and swap logical volume. On this volume group better, of course it doesn't matter, you don't need to have that, and you can use any other lesser file system. Then we install this, even though this is a preemptive multitasking high performance enterprise grade Linux, right? So obviously, although we have a load of 74, of course we install here in a snap in less than a minute, obviously, because it's highly optimized, profiled and stuff. People ask, where can you download this? You can download this probably like tomorrow or so, when all my builds, it's the last build, this is Longson probably and stuff, my microblaze and all the other. So because I was literally until last night rewriting installer and testing, right, each time you test something, I've rewritten half of the partitioning stuff with LVM integration. I've rewritten half of the grub2 installation magic to support this, because and then test this, right? And then with testing, of course, I broke a thing or two. Root password here. We are still in freaking Europe. And glory to Ukraine. Actually, do we have Ukraine here of, let's see, something. Time doesn't matter. CUTF, latest is the future is now, right? CUTF-8. And so this is also where the magic happens, right? Excuse me. I'm nearly recovered. So what this does is now, this grub glue, and that is also what takes us part of attention to detail and all the other 1973 Linux distributions, is not only is our poor man's grub glue taking care of all this 4 or 5 or whatever installation variants, I also invented a new way, because our initRD needs a way. So until yesterday, this wouldn't boot in T2 even, but because the issue is our root is VG, like def mapper, as you see there, VG0 dash or slash root. But the problem is your logical volume stuff will not come up, because this needs to enable the Luke's encrypted full disk encryption, right? So I invented, probably no other Linux distribution, leave in the comments below, but my guess is maybe no other Linux or Unix is doing it that way. I see other people with like custom initRD, custom hack, custom pre-hook hack, whatever, but I usually go one step further, which is probably also why you can't afford it anymore, and we also know sell it, right? So if you want commercial support or give back, right, you can now, and why it's now $4.99 enterprise, $4.99 euro enterprise Linux for all this stuff, because I basically invented a new way. It's like, yeah, invented, right? Other people apply a patent and stuff. It's like, where I use like, yeah, amazing inventing. So T2 now supports a comma-separated list of root devices, which is like the list of devices that need to be enabled to bring up the root stuff. So which normally would be def VG0/root, and now another pre-activation device of by UUID. And theoretically, so what is supported also, I will probably prettify that later this year. Although it's like, I theoretically I would like more like UUID equals 305 whatever. This would already work, just our installer does not prettify that. So you could, I didn't test that, but it's implemented, so it probably works. Fingers crossed. Root equals UUID equals 305 whatever, comma def/VG0/root would work as well. Not tested, but I'm 99% confident it works. And I might change the installer to later prettify it, like later this year for another release. It doesn't matter, of course, it works, it's just a little bit long. The UUID equals doesn't make it that much shorter, but yeah, you might remember. So, of course, so also grub, so there is additional grub glue to activate this crypto device, so that the LVM stuff is found. And there is additional new initRD glue to iterate over the comma-separated list of root devices to activate. And there is additionally, I took even there the extra mile, which is probably why I now call this enterprise-grade Linux, because earlier in December or so, I implemented, and you will see this in a second, I so love these Linux distributions, you can't imagine. If I would be Steve Ballmer, I would jump on a keynote presentation, developers. It is so amazing because I went the extra mile. And did I test this? I hope I don't overpromise now. I hope all my commits are in there. It might be the first time I test the final thing because I implemented kexec-based installation reboot, which worked for the easy cases, but not for this. I implemented it last night, midnight. I actually hope, fingers crossed, all is in there. Famous last words. The extra topping here is that now, since last midnight, T2 supports kexec-based booting of your installation, even with this comma-separated list of root devices. Let's see if it works in a second. Yeah, and this is all the stuff, right? It's if you don't implement it and test it, then it ain't supported and doesn't work. So the only thing is some tool, maybe grub setup, crypt setup, something. There's one last bug which isn't mine as usual. Usually bugs are not mine, but so there's one thing that I really hate. Some tool, like maybe crypt setup or LVM or whatever, is leaving the serial or like probably any terminal, but especially this serial terminal here. It's leaving this in this reset condition here, which not reset condition, in this like absolute. Also, are we still installing? And so the only thing is, so normally they should scroll away and stuff, but that's not in my opinion, no, I'm 99.99, like 99.9% sure this is not my bug. And it doesn't happen always, right? So it only happens like if certain tools ask there, like for confirmation, maybe eventually, like if you shall like subscribe Patreon or buy a licensed enterprise Linux thing, I will fix that too. And so now comes the magic, right? Since December, kexec, it's not announcing that, but like, why should we ask, right? If so, it doesn't work on all platforms. So obviously, kexec-based installation reboot only works on supported platforms. So let's see here. So yeah, and it works. So the only thing is like, because the terminal is in this absolute addressing whatever mode here, but yeah. So we rebooted into the like kexec PS3 like and T2 Enterprise Linux enter passphrase. So this is our new, like, may I present to you the new, I mean, it obviously doesn't look different, right? But it's LVM on Luke's encrypted physical volumes, out of the box T2 Enterprise Linux 23.1 with kexec freaking based installation reboot. I saw like, if this is not developers, I don't know what is, and systemd my by the way. So yeah, that is test, and then it's like, yeah, except normally it would scroll as like, yeah, it's like, I probably should. I mean, it's not that difficult to find out which bloody tool or like file system wiping stuff there. Luke's passphrase or whatever, yeah, whatever. So and that is test, not test, root test. And it's amazing. So we now have, let's also, by the way, reset the bloody terminal. And yeah, KVM high performance installed in a snap. And here you see the stuff. And our, so you see the name doesn't matter. Our init pre-boot environment has set this up as Tor. I intentionally use here because the other code path uses root. It doesn't matter too much. I'm wondering if I should, instead of root and Tor, should use the device name like VD2 encrypted or stuff. Yeah, whatever. And so yeah, LVM2, here logical volumes on your out-of-the-box full disk encryption stuff. And I tested, of course I tested, because what you have not tested is broken. And of course I tested that actually resuming from that works. So of course I was as clever and attention to detail to implement this comma-separated list of root devices to activate in the root device device chain there, device tree, to activate those before resume. So of course it works that you suspend this to disk, and on reboot from your BIOS, of course, you need to enter your Luke's password, and then the resume will, if your hardware is, your BIOS, your firmware is bug-free enough to suspend resume from disk, then that should work. Let's test rebooting. But yeah, I don't know. So yeah, can we do, we cannot only do desktop Linux, embedded Linux. May I present to you freaking enterprise storage Linux? The only thing is this QEMU doesn't save that. So yeah, that also, I mean, the last time I tested it works. It still works. I didn't break it today. Amazing stuff. Excuse me. Where's my coffee? Is also empty. Yeah. So yeah, that's it for this presentation. This of course takes a while, even some 10,000 of hash iterations are the only things we need to edit is, and here you see the stuff, right? Root equals all this like commas I read. Yeah, leave in the comments below. I like this much more than other like hacks. I've only seen like when I Google, I have only seen hacks and long wiki entries. But at T2 you get this out of the box now to full disk encrypt your PS3 and stuff. So one day I will also figure out how to auto detect this in no graphics Siri console Linux here. And when we scroll up here, you see what's happening, entering passphrase, activating LVM, def mapper, VG, swap, trying to resume, right? I said it will try to resume it, we didn't suspend from there, activating root. And like, if this is not amazing, I don't know what is amazing. This is by far the most amazing Linux distribution I ever worked with. And it only took 25 years to implement all of this. So yeah, that's it here. This stuff should be done building soon, as probably until midnight, and then we are sending this to the server, and then we call it a day. It is by far the most amazing release I ever anticipated. I could not imagine when I was 16 and started to contribute to Rocket Linux that there ever will be a 31 architecture combination from embedded desktop and enterprise server stuff supporting Linux distribution with all those amazing features, packages, and of course latest Firefox updated Vulkan today, right? A little bit of like rebuilding, right? Updated Linux kernel today, 6.17 Vulkan of last release there. Do we have any other build errors here? Is this still? It might still process there, so it might be that it's not yet rebuilding that potentially, because so this probably only build errors because I rebooted. I took the graphic card out there because I didn't need it. I'm now running the it's just killed. So we can, I mean, yeah, it will not speed up the build more. If Intel and AMD are watching and are interested in this, supporting this amazing achievement, I need more CPU power, because it's only a replacement for IPC instructions per cycle, and epic and thread ripping are more cores, and I could need more than 16 cores. So yeah, and of course we found some bugs. We found some last minute Bluetooth bug. So lots of, that is the thing, right? One more thing, like if you every day live here on this channel do one more thing, XFCE improvements and XFCE updates, right? And LVM, like some LVM bug fixes scrolled by, so it is amazing. What else did I found some small glitches here and there, like maybe sway, Bluetooth. Bluetooth only because we improved the init ID generation. There was like one bug of mine of not substituting one directory like underscore libexec thing in it. Yeah, I'm thrilled. I hope it still works on all the architectures. Next, so the only thing is we now have an amazing Linux distribution. We will continue to maintain this, but then of course 2023, I guess it's the year of the microkernel, the next hobby project. What is better than one unsuccessful hobby project, two unsuccessful hobby projects? So microkernel next, but don't fear, don't worry. Of course, we will support T2 because obviously 25 years of my life spent on this, and I will continue to maintain it like Linus Torvalds continues to maintain his hobby. A question there, what are the fans? Yes, the fans are running on 100%. What to expect from an epic thread-ripping Ryzen 7950X with a load of 82. Of course, the fans are running 100% to keep this 90-degree monster cooled, and yeah, it's the liquid. The Kraken Z73 is getting warm. I could open the balcony door though, and for some more natural cooling. Yeah, so the fans, the noise are the fans, and this Ryzen is getting hot, compiling embarrassingly massive parallel, compiling all the stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this and learned something, and also like to use this amazing, so and you get some good use out of this amazing enterprise ready Linux distribution. So the only thing is, what's going on here is, I mean, this is probably harmless. I probably, so yeah, because this, maybe we should, did I not hit, I mean, it's probably harmless, except maybe, so yeah, maybe some very small polishing there. I mean, this is a very, very, very minor thing, which probably also happens with other Linux versions, right? I remember, so this is kind of harmless, except maybe data synchronization. I remember when you cache this, which I do on production servers for many years already, we use DM, LVM-based device mapper caching there on SSDs. And I know that the cache can be marked dirty. And then when you reboot, the bloody SSD cache is like rebuild. And you have obviously slow performance and 100% load and waste write cycles on your precious NVMe SSD. I probably should debug that. I can put this on my to-do. But implementing all of this cleared multiple of the to-dos, which probably actually we could go through here. So by the way, it's like, yeah, the fence, I have the fan curve at 100% at 32 degrees here. So even with the window, it's like, yeah, you open the balcony door with below 10 degrees Celsius out there, and your temperatures drop, like ambient temperatures. Like, maybe I should put the Ryzen out of the balcony, right? But yeah, and even with temperatures massively dropped, I mean, obviously that improves boost performance. Oops, I think it was capital, all right. It should improve boost performance, but yeah, the fan noise is the same, except the Ryzen is a little bit less hot. So what do we have right now? Yeah, it's around 90 degrees. So that my Ryzen with this undervolting and PBO and stuff, and it's usually around, it's like, yeah, be over, like at 90 degrees Celsius or so, or like a bit before 90 degree, it starts to boost less. But it's getting a bit cold for me, and I have already some coughing here. So clean to do here, and it's like, yeah, the only thing is my to do always grows faster. Then I just even added more entries here. So I fix that. I mean, so the thing is, so I like fix that, like all combinations I want to support do work, but improve FS tab names for LVM and grub to use UUID equals. So the init ID supports this already, just our grub glue does not generate UUID equals. I could easily do that, but there's a limit, right? I want to release now. So if I do this read only now, so the question is maybe no auto. And it's like, yeah, support root swap on encrypted. So yeah, did that. Theoretically, I mean, I should test this, but yeah, there are so few people. More people either want to buy an enterprise Linux because it's obviously less broken than other broken enterprise Linuxes. But go find me of it's like, yeah, €169. All you get so much testing because on top of implementing all of this, also getting the P3 out and testing that. Because the problem is obviously whether all the massive amounts of rebased P3 patches still work with the latest Linux kernel. I rediffed something needed rediffing, but yeah. Alright, I still need to wire up the FEMM testing. Yeah, there's always so much to do. So the next big thing for me will be integrating a Dropbox into the init so that you can unlock that via SSH, for example, for your data servers. Again, there are massive amounts of wikis that are all more or less tricky and dirty and quick and hard to read hex, which is obviously test. So hey, test all of this. So this is part LVM encrypt, and hey, I've done this test. So, but I wouldn't be me if I would just delete that. So like test suite, right? Obviously, so professionals. Actually, we could probably do that here. Actually, that would be actually a really low-hanging fruit. What did I? So anyway, hey, this is kind of a double entry here. So did do that. Yeah. So this is basically not mine, but fix some crypt setup or so password. So mess up console mode. Yeah, autoload KVM AMDs. I wonder if that works on other distributions or if it's hard coded somewhere. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Yeah, I mean, I noticed the other day that Gutenprint does not cross-compile, which is super hilarious, right? 2023 and bloody Gutenprint of the free print driver. Like, why does this stuff not, like, don't people want to cross-compile this for their own board? Yeah, unit test kexec, that actually be a good idea. So yeah, and then is of course, by the way, I wanted to check the other day. But, and then of course we also continue with electronic stuff and FPGA. And I actually wonder if there is a new release. So probably enough to do clearance. So this stuff is still building, naturally, right? If you're wondering why I need the latest and greatest Ryzen stuff, this is why. and that is a new release. I just had the feeling that there is a new release. What did they do? Respect black box for modules. Doesn't. But I really appreciate, although this does not look like much, maybe there is more small stuff, but in any case, I really appreciate release early and often, because there, for some packages and even for users, there was at times for 1.5 years not a release. So I rather take a release every month, even with just some small fixes over 1.5 years, not releasing any proper release here. Yeah, the load is massive. If it feels like building on a gigahertz Spark station, then obviously your Ryzen is loaded 200%, 300. Yeah. So, what are the comments? Link to the project. Project is, of course, you can. That is T2. Just freaking amazing Linux from scratch, automatically cross-compiled. Yeah, stuff is generating just how we like it. So this, of course, there are multiple builds running in one terminal, which is why this is so distorted. I personally don't mind, like YOLO, whatever. I have to say, a Ryzen 300% Ryzen is really not fast anymore, but that's how we like our systems, right? So yeah, release coming soon. I had, as usual, there's always one more thing, right? Also the latest binutils, which I went the extra efforts, right? Previous videos the other day, we tested this for PowerPCs. So PowerPCs upstream regressions are fixed, including for even x86-64 for rsync. So now we can fully build rsync the fully optimized way on AMD64 and use the latest binutils for PowerPC, where previous versions of binutils had major regressions. If you build complex software like LVM or binutils, kind of internal compiler error, or how they called it, assertion failure. So we tested that, and then there's also Longson. The latest stuff failed for Longson, the Chinese CPU ISA, which we also support. So we had to disable because it's not supported Gold, because we enable Gold for all binutils, Gold for all architectures, and that builds for nearly everything but Longson for whatever unimplemented reason. And that's always the thing, right? You want to release and then Longson doesn't build and PowerPC not, and just want to, is it already building? Because this is already building, amazing, because I have an check in there, so we can cancel this already. It's probably good enough, don't need to waste more CPU cycles. And here goes Yosis, and why is this Yos? Because it's a Git checkout. Yeah, it's not ideal, but okay, whatever. Yeah, so that's it for this video. Do we have any more build errors? And next, except writing a microkernel, I probably need to modernize the website, because people ask what's the project website, and then they visit the basically 15-year-old site. Welcome that you discovered BTOP. You probably want to like, subscribe for all this kind of low-level stuff, right? We do here everything from kernel, C, compiler, and as this year, a new microkernel, because we want stability and maintainability and even vintage and retro. So you probably want to like and subscribe for that. and all the surrounding stuff. Also probably the title is not clickbait, right? We usually test our stuff also on vintage RISC Unix workstations that we misuse by installing our precious enterprise T2 Linux on there. Oh, also this is a wrong name. Wanted to continue that build also. And so yeah, probably later this year we'll probably take a Spark T3 Sun Microsystems Spark Ultra Spark T3 T4 so, and obviously install T2 on that PowerPC, SG Octane stuff to come. So yeah. So what I usually do is I go for dinner now, because obviously the Ryzen is busy. No point of working too much with it at a load of 80. And I hope you learned something and enjoy this release. It is one of the best ever. Kind of running out of stuff to implement except microkernel. The next major thing will be, as I mentioned, initRD integrated Dropbox for controlling the initRD and full disk encryption over Secure Shell. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something, and then even more geeky vintage retro and state-of-the-art Linux stuff to come this year. Have a good day or night, and see you next time.